The Democrats, some Republicans, they continue to try to attack President Trump over Jeffrey Epstein. And nothing has been released from the new Epstein emails that is particularly shocking about President Trump. Literally nothing. I'm waiting for the supposed smoking gun in the same way that I was waiting for the Russiagate smoking gun for years and years and years, and it never happened. And it feels very much the same at this point. Now, again, I'm fine with all of the Epstein files being whatever is available, what can be released. Not only am I fine with it, I think it would be good. Again, more transparency is better. And I think that there is a Streisand effect thing that is going on where the president says that he wants to abide by the law, and then he brings people in and he browbeats them because he doesn't want certain files being released. And people are asking, well, why does he not want the files? Like, again, that's a Barbara Streisand effect. Is there anything there? I highly, highly doubt it. Again, the Biden administration had full control over all of these files for 4 years. If there was something, some smoking gun about Donald Trump and children there, you don't think the Biden administration would have leaked it? Donald Trump's personal tax returns were leaked. Like, give me a break. Give me a break. Democrats, however, are out there spinning up every old story, every unspecified allegation. For example, Representative Robert Garcia went on MSNBC and then claimed that Epstein was doing his work at Mar-a-Lago, which, again, there is no support for this idea evidentiarily, that Mar-a-Lago was like a center of human trafficking on behalf of Jeffrey Epstein.
The reality is that every time we get a new batch of documents, there are a lot more questions. And in my opinion, signs point back to the White House. When you think about Epstein, his sex trafficking ring, Ghislaine Maxwell, all of this happened in New York. It happened in South Florida. It happened at Mar-a-Lago. They ran in the same circles.
So, a little much. And you can see now who's pushing this. Right? Democrats who wish to smear President Trump with Jeffrey Epstein, and some Republicans who wish to smear President Trump with Jeffrey Epstein, mainly because they don't like a lot of Trump's policies and are trying to undermine his credibility within his own party. Again, I think the solution to that is more transparency, but I'm not sure that that's going to solve it because there are some ill-motivated actors, shall we say. Meanwhile, CNN is now trotting out old stories again. So CNN brought forth a swimsuit model named Stacey Williams, who claims that she was groped by Trump all the way back in 1993. Now, this has been in the public eye for a long, long time. In fact, it was already brought out, I think, last year, or 2 years ago. But CNN's going to retell it again. Here we go.
He writes, my 20-year-old girlfriend in 93 that after 2 years I gave to Donald. Now, by the way, you met him in 1992. When you see that, though, in this email in black and white, I quote unquote gave to Donald. What's your reaction?
I mean, it screams about, the mindset of these men. The same two men who did what they did to me when Jeffrey Epstein walked me into Donald Trump's office to be groped by him. Clearly, we are these objects, these trophies, and it's deeply misogynistic.
Okay, now again, this was dealt with last year. Right? I mean, this is not anything new. According to The Guardian, this is more than a year ago. A former model who says she met Donald Trump through the late sexual abuser Jeffrey Epstein has accused the former president of groping and sexually touching her in an incident in Trump Tower in 1993 in what she believed was a twisted game between the two men. Now, again, she only came out with this story, I guess, in 2024. I'm wondering why it would take you 21 years to tell that story, given the 31 years to tell that story, given the fact that Donald Trump has already been president once and has been the most famous person on earth for, several decades at this point. Caroline Leavitt at the time, who was a press secretary for the Trump campaign, said these accusations made by a former activist for Barack Obama and announced on a Harris campaign call 2 weeks before the election are unequivocally false. It's obvious this fake story was contrived by the Harris campaign. Now, again, the attempt to retell these stories anew because Democrats leaked 3 emails out of context to the New York Times, it's not just silly, it's actually wildly counterproductive for the body politic. We'll get to more on this in a moment. First, that weird feeling you get sometimes like you're being watched while you're browsing online? Well, that's because you actually are. Every time you hop on the internet, your service provider can see literally everything you do. And get this, in the US, they can legally sell your entire browsing history. Yep, even that incognito browsing isn't so private after all. Who would have thunk? Well, that's why I started using ExpressVPN. It's a brilliant app that encrypts everything I do online and routes it through secure servers. Since I started using it, my internet provider can't see any of my browsing history, and that means they've got nothing to sell because they really don't have anything on me. I'm constantly traveling these days. I'm using airplane Wi-Fi and hotel Wi-Fi and coffee shop Wi-Fi. I don't want anybody looking over my shoulder. That's why I use ExpressVPN. Here's what I really love about ExpressVPN. It also hides my IP address. So those annoying data brokers can't build a profile about me to sell to advertisers. Plus, it's incredibly user-friendly. You don't have to be a tech wizard to use it. They've made it so simple, even your kids could figure it out. All you have to do is tap one button to get protected. They've got apps for all your devices. It's rated #1 by CNET, The Verge, and other major tech reviewers. Find out how you can get up to 4 extra months by scanning the QR code on screen, clicking the link in the description box below, or by heading on over to expressvpn.com/Ben Shapiro Show. And meanwhile, in what is an actual scandal, remember Representative Matt Gaetz? Remember that time when the Trump administration briefly attempted to nominate him for Attorney General, and then the entire Republican caucus went, what now? Well, it turns out the entire Republican caucus was right. What now was the proper response to the idea that Representative Matt Gaetz should be Attorney General of the United States, according to the New York Times. She was 17 and a high school junior in Florida. She was working at McDonald's, and she was living in and out of a homeless shelter. Hoping to save up to buy braces to fix her teeth, she falsely advertised herself in 2017 as 18 years old on a website that matches men looking for companionship with young women looking to make money. What followed would set off a chain of events that would have a dramatic impact on her life and help upend the political career of one of the men she would encounter, Representative Matt Gaetz, the Florida Republican. A bipartisan health ethics committee investigation determined there was substantial evidence he had sex with the 17-year-old. The report included testimony from the girl about how she was paid by Gaetz for the sex. In response to a request from McClatchy, a federal judge has now unsealed court documents from a related civil case that shed some light on the girl's background. Apparently, she was a then homeless 17-year-old high schooler. The girl's lawyer agreed to confirm some basic biographical information about her client. So, again, apparently, the girl began this path of meeting Gaetz during her junior year in high school. In December 2016, she turned 17. Her parents were divorced. One of them was so poor, the parent was living in and out of a homeless shelter. When the girl and her siblings were staying with that parent, they lived also in the homeless shelter. To make extra money, the girl worked at McDonald's. She began looking for other ways to make money and turned to a website that advertised itself as a sugar dating website that primarily connected older men and younger women seeking mutually beneficial relationships. Through the website, in April of her junior year in high school, she met Joel Greenberg, a Florida tax collector who is a friend and ally of Gaetz. Greenberg invited the 17-year-old to a meeting on his boat. At that meeting, they did not have sex, but Greenberg paid her $400. He also gave her ecstasy and told her to try it at home. Then he contacted her again, and then they met up at a hotel where they had sex, and she was paid another $400. Apparently, he would have sex with her 7 times for money before she turned 18, and he would give her ecstasy. On July 15th, 2017, he asked the girl and others to attend a party at the home of Chris Dorworth, a former Republican member of the Florida State House, who at the time worked as a lobbyist for Ballard Partners. At the party, the girl who was 17 later testified both cocaine and ecstasy were offered to her. She took ecstasy and drank. She testified she danced naked in front of Mr. Dorworth and swam naked in the pool. Gaetz was there along with a girlfriend. Apparently, the girl twice had sex with Gaetz that evening. A court document quotes her as having testified she had sex with him once on a pool table or an air hockey table. She testified Dorworth saw Gaetz have sex with her on the game table and then laughed about it with other party goers. And she says that she saw Gaetz use cocaine that night. So, not great, Bob. I'm just going to put it out. I don't think he would have made a good attorney general. I don't. I just don't. Now, I will say that there are a group of Democrats, there are a large group of people on the left who would say that this sort of thing is bizarrely legitimate, to which I say, what the hell, man? Of course it isn't. It's ridiculous and disgusting and horrible. This is why when people say that sex work is work, well, no. Sex is something very different from other types of quote-unquote work. And yes, grievous wrongs were committed here. Yes, of course. And anybody claiming otherwise, it's ridiculous. Okay, meanwhile, other members of Congress now under scrutiny. Apparently, Eric Swalwell is under scrutiny. He is under scrutiny, apparently, for theoretically or allegedly taking out another bad mortgage. The DOJ has opened a probe, according to Fox News, into Swalwell over alleged mortgage fraud. Swalwell then went on MSNBC to respond. Here he was.
Yeah, I only have one mortgage and a residence in California, and I spend my time every week between California and Washington, D.C. This is, again, just Donald Trump doing everything he can to target his enemies. In our lawsuit, it's not lost on me that we've begun to depose members of the administration. And so you can connect the dots there, if you will.
Now, he then claimed that he is being targeted alongside the likes of Letitia James, James Comey, John Bolton, Adam Schiff. Okay, there's only one problem. If you actually committed crimes, then you will be, in fact, prosecuted. And if you don't, then presumably you will not. Now, we'll have to see what exactly he did. The probe will investigate allegations, according to Fox News, of millions of dollars in loans and refinancing based on Swalwell declaring that his primary residence was in Washington, D.C. According to the report, the director of the Federal Housing Agency, Bill Pulte, sent AG Pam Bondi a letter on Wednesday accusing Swalwell of possibly making false or misleading statements on loan documents. Apparently, the investigation is into possible mortgage fraud, tax fraud at the state and local levels, insurance fraud, and any related crimes. So we'll have to see, of course, how this plays out. Innocent until proven guilty is, of course, the rule of the day in all of this. Okay, meanwhile, John Fetterman yesterday was unfortunately hospitalized. According to a statement that was put out on his X page, during an early morning walk, Senator Fetterman sustained a fall near his home in Braddock. Out of an abundance of caution, he was transported to a hospital in Pittsburgh. Upon evaluation, it was established he had a ventricular fibrillation flare-up that led to Senator Fetterman feeling lightheaded, falling to the ground, and hitting his face with minor injuries. Senator Fetterman had this to say: "If you thought my face looked bad before, wait until you see it now." Listen, again, Senator Fetterman, he may be the last courageous person in the Democratic Party. Also, it's hard to dislike. I've met Senator Fetterman. He and I disagree on, 80% of issues. Hard to dislike Senator Fetterman. Says he is doing well and receiving routine observation at the hospital. He has opted to stay so doctors can fine-tune his medication regimen. Senator Fetterman is grateful for the EMTs, doctors, and nurses who are providing his care. So we'll bring you all the health updates as they emerge for Senator Fetterman, maybe the last sane Democratic senator. Well, that's all for now, folks. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment your thoughts down below. Be sure to check out all of the other great content on my channel. I'll see you here next time.